The 2021 Lexus IS is finally here and we have all the details. And even though there are a lot of new things about this new car, the future of the Lexus IS to me seems more unclear than ever. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the upcoming 2021 Lexus IS, all the changes, and all the things that are maybe quite the same. But to me, just as importantly, I'm going to go over where Lexus might be going with this vehicle and its replacement in the future. Welcome back to the channel, Luxurious Fleet. If you're new here, my name's Kirk. I started this channel mainly on Lexus vehicles. This is right up my alley. And now, of course, I talk about pretty much everything Japanese auto. So make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you won't miss any upcoming videos on the channel. Over at the Lexus Newsroom, 2021 Lexus IS, agility and athleticism expand pure driving performance. And here it is in its full glory. Now, if you're a follower of the channel, you probably already saw the leaks of this vehicle. It came out a day before, but regardless of the leaks that came out, it doesn't take away from the beauty. There's no doubts that this vehicle is outstanding looking, and that's the first thing I'm going to touch upon in this video are the looks. Of course, we're going to start with the spindle grille because that's Lexus's identity with its styling right now. And it's big, and no one's going to be surprised by that. Their grills have been getting bigger over the years. But I do think this looks quite a bit better than the already good-looking 2020 Lexus IS. The lights to me are stunning. They put the daytime running light in there. They made it a little bit more angular. These headlights look like the most similar to the Lexus UX, and that's probably because the UX was the last, I guess, big update for the brand. Yes, we got a refresh of the RX this past year, but these headlights do fit in line with that UX styling. And of course the taillights will as well, as we'll get there in a little bit. They really dialed back these plastic pieces here, and it looks like there's some slits in here, maybe for aerodynamics. It does look a little bit better. The hood curvature looks very ES to me, and that's not a bad thing because the front end of the ES is very attractive. Now looking at the, I guess, rear quarter panel here, of course you see bigger wheels. I've known for a long time that the IS was going to get larger 19-inch wheels, and there you go, there they are. They're stunning. They look just like the 19-inch wheels on the ES, and in fact, they might be, but a little bit more tailored towards a rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive setup like this car is. Now, the finish on these 19-inch wheels are quite different. The finish is more the vapor chrome wheel we either see on the Lexus LS 500 with the noise-canceling 20-inch vapor chrome wheels, or you see these wheels actually on the one-off of the 2020 IS 300 and 350 Blackline edition. They had this dark vapor chrome finish, and I did a review on that particular car, so if you want to watch that review, go ahead and watch it. Now we got to talk next about the rear end, which we've known the most about because that's what Lexus has been teasing us about, is this rear end. And taking a look at it, it looks so similar, in my opinion, to the current ES. And like I said, that's not a bad thing because the ES is a really good looking luxury sedan. This is definitely a little bit more sporty, a little bit more aggressive. Some people don't really like this tacked on lip spoiler. Of course, that's only going to be for the F Sport models. And then you see the light bar that goes across. And I know some people aren't a big fan of that either, but it looks really good on the UX, and the illumination is uniform throughout. And Lexus does a really good job with their lighting. And the backup lights are 3 little LEDs. You can probably see it better over here, which is a nice little upgrade. And the rear taillights are just a little bit more aggressive, yet condensed and minimalistic. The exhaust tips are very simple. Some people like the outgoing exhaust tips a little bit better. And maybe it's a more conservative look if they're going to be coming out with a more performance-oriented version of this car, which we'll talk about at the end. And lastly, on the exterior design anyways, we need to talk about this wheel arch and this swoop. I think that is, you're going to see a lot of angles at this car when it's out on the road, and this is going to designate this car. You'll know for sure that it's an IS from the side. So many of these cars look so similar from the side nowadays, but having this very iconic swooping almost looks like a triangle in front of this rear wheel. I think that really separates the IS from any other vehicle. New 2021 IS first Lexus debuted Lexus Driving Signature. Tested and developed at New Technical Center in Shimoyama, Japan. They designed this 3.3 mile course, which I feel like half of this press release is about this racing course that they developed. It has over 200 feet of elevation change in this 3.3 mile course. And they had a lot of turns in it that replicates Nürburgring. And the official video release of this, Townsend Bell, who's like the spokesperson for Lexus, especially their racing, he's like, yeah, I bet Lexus spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this course. And yet we get this IS, which we know it's going to handle better. They talk a lot about the revisions, how they made it a little bit stiffer, a little bit better of a riding experience overall, which is great. I mean, the current IS already did a pretty good job at that. But they used this course to fine-tune the driving characteristics of the new IS. And I have no doubt that the new IS is going to be one of the best driving sports sedans out there. Driving performance enhanced through rigidity, chassis and suspensions enhancements. New Lexus Safety System Plus 2.5. This is the first time we've ever seen 2.5, and I'll talk about the small upgrade that it provides. And then new multimedia system with an available 10.3 inch touchscreen. We've already had the 10.3 inch screen, but only through the mouse interface, which is being eradicated throughout the Lexus lineup. I think the LX might be the only one left with that mouse interface, which, ugh, don't like it. But this 10.3 inch touchscreen with the touchpad is nice to be able to choose between the two. But we'll talk more about the interior in a little bit. Now, the first thing that they pointed out in this press release was the first ever vehicle with Lexus Driving Signature. I had no idea what that was, so let's read about it. By establishing a uniform Lexus driving signature across the entire lineup, the hope is to continue propelling the brand's evolution and reinforce its identity in the luxury space. This cultural shift within Lexus product development builds on the learnings and improvements seen on the F-brand cars and the latest models of the flagship vehicles, the LC, the LS, and the LX, that involve an always-on philosophy for continual running enhancement. The Lexus IS represents the first step down a path that has evolved into a uniquely Lexus tarmac testbed that will affect the trajectory of every Lexus product that comes next. I feel like that's like a certification for Lexus. You know how Jeep is like, oh, it's trail rated. Lexus has just made their own road course, and they're just going to call it Lexus Driving Signature to give it more a unique sound. To me, this doesn't mean a whole lot unless I go to Japan and they can explain it to me firsthand. Quick timeout, interior, because I have to talk about it. They added Apple CarPlay, they added Android Auto, they moved the cup holders, they put in the active sound control dial in there, which is kind of gimmicky. And they added Circuit Red, which is just a brighter red of the Rioja red that they had. That's it. I don't think there's anything. Oh, Mark Levinson, they upgraded that, which I'm okay with. That's probably the most impressive thing that I didn't expect, is the upgrade of the Mark Levinson. But finally, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Now, as we scroll down, once we got out all the Shimoyama test bed stuff, they start talking about the wheels. Why not? Let's just talk about the wheels randomly. So I've already talked about the base wheels for the F Sport. Now there's also base wheels, which those are 18s. They got rid of the 17s. Now the base wheels are 18s. Then you're going to have the 19s on the F Sport. And then you're going to have these BBS wheels. These BBS wheels look really, really cool. They are 4 pounds lighter per wheel compared to the normal F Sport wheels. Now they say that BBS wheel is specific to F Sports, equipped with a dynamic handling package. And the dynamic handling package for me is just a fancier word for the adaptive variable suspension that we've had on the IS 350s going back a few years. And here's all the small enhancements they've been making on this vehicle for this 2021. And we know it's a refresh. This car's a refresh through and through. But it is a very, very major refresh. It's not a redesign. It's not on a TNGA platform. There's a lot of things that aren't as modern as even this 2019 ES is here. Now we need to talk about powertrains, which I'm going to go. I don't think I'm going to read anything else from this press release because it's time for me to speak from my heart a little bit. There are no new powertrains for the IS, and that was my worst fear. And that fear I knew was probably going to turn out to be true. Lexus is so conservative, we haven't heard anything about new powertrains other than some IS 500 rumors, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But what are the three powertrains? Well, they're carrying over the 2-liter 8AR FTS turbocharged inline 4 that produces 240-ish horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And that's only on the rear-wheel drive IS 300. You step up to the IS 300 all-wheel drive, you get a detuned 3.5-liter V6 with 260 horsepower, and then you get the 350, which all these press images are on, is the 350 F Sport. And by the way, the only way you can get the F Sport, the only way you can get the V6 is in the F Sport. So zero power upgrade, zero engine upgrade, zero transmission upgrades. It's all in the suspension, it's all in the handling of this vehicle. And unfortunately, the average person is never going to be able to extrapolate the handling characteristics of this new IS. Whereas if they kept the handling the same and they put in an engine that had 100 more horsepower, the world would be like, yes, awesome Lexus, you did it, you listened. You put the twin turbo V6 in there, you put the V8 from the ISF the back in the day, but they revised it so now it has 471 horsepower. Yay, they put that in the new IS, and the world would be absolutely stoked. Instead, we have a refresh. When I heard that this IS was going to be canceled in Europe, I almost knew at that point there weren't going to be any powertrains, or at least new powertrains. The IS over in Europe had a hybrid setup that we never saw here in the States and probably won't for some time. And since it was canceled there, I knew that they probably weren't able, one, to compete, and two, to be able to have an emissions-friendly vehicle up to their standards. So this vehicle seems to me an exclusive for America, Japan, Australia, and maybe some other small markets, but those are probably the largest markets that I personally can think of for this IS. And at the end of this, I guess, press release from Lexus, Townsend Bell, who's a race car driver for them in a GT3 RC, he's like, oh, you know, what if there's a more potent version coming? I'm totally paraphrasing, by the way, because I watched it once. What if there's a more powerful version in the works? Would I be the first person to drive this? And his co-host, Lisa, I think her name is Lisa, she's like, oh, you know, we can't say anything at the time. If we are working on something, I'm going to be the first one to test drive it. And they're just like, oh, you're so funny. Like, Lexus, stop playing games. You can make the best cars in the world. And this refresh, even though we'll be one of the best handling cars in the segment, having the same powertrain, no power upgrade really since 2006. We've had the same IS 350 with slight horsepower variations in there. It's not enough. And you know that. You know that. In this introductory press release, you brought in editors and journalists in the automotive industry. I would have loved to be one of them. If you ask me next time, I'll be happy to ask a really great question for it. But the hosts kind of dodged a few things in those questions. One of the questions was, well, what cars have you been benchmarking it against? And they totally just ignored that question. And there are a couple other things in there in terms of performance that they kind of, you know, just danced around. Lexus, you can't do this. I know you're trying to seem more transparent by bringing journalists and editors into your press release, but no one was satisfied with your answers. And no one was satisfied at the end of that when you're joking around, oh, there might be a more high performance variant out there, but we're going to keep you in the dark for another 2 years on it, or however long it's going to be. With the new Acura TLX and its Type S variant, you can't afford to play games. You can't. This car's already outperformed by that, at least, you know, in horsepower numbers. Maybe not in comfortability, refinement, handling was probably going to be fairly close. I mean, the ride quality is going to be better on this. And yes, I know the IS is going to be a phenomenal vehicle, but it's going to have a small back seat. The interior is going to look dated from the get-go, even though it's been updated. The powertrains are dated at this point, although extremely reliable, bulletproof, is easy to maintain. People just want to have a high performance variant of this. We don't have it, and we're left here with a refresh. So I don't know what else to say, guys. I didn't get my hopes up too much, but because I know Lexus hasn't really beat my expectations since probably the LC 500. What are we going to see in this high performance variant that they're talking about? Well, you have one of two options, at least if they're going to use existing hardware. And that would be the 2UR GSE V8 that we see in the LC and the RCF and the GSF, rest in peace, homie. Or you're gonna see a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 that we see in the LS 500. Those are the two most logical options. But I have a feeling that neither of them will make it, because that 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, maybe that's only available with that 10-speed automatic transmission, and I don't think that's going to bolt into this hardware of this old platform. When looking at the 2UR GSE, that's more likely, because you have that V8. We've had the V8 in the ISF before. It's pretty much the same engine. The ISF was the first Lexus to ever offer an 8-speed transmission, and I think that is still a viable situation, because it's not going to be offered in all-wheel drive. It's rear-wheel drive only. I think that is probably our only likely scenario at this point, if it uses existing hardware. So I'm almost ruling out the twin turbo V6. And people are going to be perfectly happy with the 5-liter V8. It's a masterwork of an engine. What if they don't use it? What if they make something unique, or something that Acura is doing? Well, if they don't use the V8, which they could, and they could still use a new power plant, we just, knowing Lexus, they're not going to give us too many options here. But you have this 2.4 liter twin turbo V6, or maybe a single turbo, but I think it's a twin turbo V6 that they're developing for multiple models to come. I believe we could see it in the upcoming NX, which will come out about a year from now, maybe a little bit later. And maybe they come out with that engine next fall when this NX debuts. And that engine could have, I don't know, 350-ish horsepower and 350-ish pound-feet of torque. But what is the future for the IS? Because this is just a refresh, right? Well, other than the powertrain situation I just talked about, I don't know. I think they might cancel the IS like they did the GS, and then eventually replace it with a full electric car. That's how I see it, or at least a plug-in hybrid with a full electric option as well. So I don't think we're going to see the IS too much longer, maybe 3 or 4 years at the very most. The car looks awesome. They made all the improvements to the interior they possibly could have done, really, with the existing platform. They added additional safety features. Like always, guys, I will see you in the comments. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to vent over, a lot to be excited about as well. And I will see you down there. Make sure to smash the like button if you haven't already. Head over to my stores in the description if you want to support the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. I love you guys. Luxurious Fleet, we're growing, we're going places, and I just want to thank you for making it all possible. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and until next time, peace out.